everyone. Welcome to Cleveland FC. My name is Parker. Let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about the U.S. men's national team announcing a friendly that they'll be playing against Mexico on April 19th. We're also going to look at the current roster that just dropped for the Nations League games that'll be coming up later this month. And then talking about some of the information that was in the Alston Bird report about the Reynas and Gregg Berhalter situation. So first, I just want to say thanks for checking in with the video, and if you'd like to like, subscribe to the channel, and also leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the video, or any feedback or anything like that. Any comments, just thoughts in general that you've got about what we're talking about here today. So the first thing that we've got is this friendly here, where the U.S. is going to play Mexico on April 19th. So as a quick preview, this is not a FIFA window, so you're going to be seeing a lot of guys, I think, from Major League Soccer from the U.S., and then, you'll be seeing also guys from the domestic league, I think, in Mexico. But it's a big shot for Shaq Moore, to nail down that fifth string right back spot. But both teams will be making huge cash grabs as Phoenix hosts the games, so great opportunity there. Make some money. I do think that this could be called the Cash Grab Classico. That's got a nice ring to it also. And hey, maybe Matt Miazga will do something funny again. This will also be a great chance to see which Mexico player decides to choke a U.S. player if Weston McKennie's not there. Give them a chance to grab somebody else by the throat. But hey, look, in all seriousness, I think that this is a fun game. This will be obviously not the same kind of vibe as one of the competitive matches, but I think that these are fun games. They're good games usually. I remember back in 2015, the U.S. played Mexico in, I think, San Antonio. I believe that Jordan Morris made his debut for the U.S., and he also scored a goal. So, definitely a chance to get to see some players that usually aren't with the national team, maybe a little bit of a glorified camp cupcake, but still, I think this can be a fun time. There's been some talk, I think I've seen here and there on Twitter about, players not being released by their clubs, by MLS clubs and things like that. And, I really think that some context there is really necessary, especially given that, Soccer United Marketing, which is the marketing company owned by Major League Soccer, they're no longer marketing the U.S. men's national team, but they are still marketing all of Mexico's games in the United States. That is a huge way for MLS to make money, and they will be very motivated to be releasing their players for this game. I also think that this is also a big stage for HBO to show what they can do and put on a good show. I've been pretty underwhelmed, maybe a little disappointed in the matches that they've put out so far. The January friendlies for the U.S. men and women, and then the She Believes Cup. I thought it could have been better, just, better coverage, but then also, the promotion was really off, right? Like, you weren't seeing a lot of chatter about this on HBO Max or, from, TBS or anybody else who was broadcasting the game for them. And I definitely think that that's something that needs to be a bit more of a focus. I'd really like to see some hype around this game, and it should be a good time. All right, so we can move on next and talk about this roster that just dropped for the national team. So we've got the March 2023 CONCACAF Nations League roster. There's some new names and definitely some surprises here. Zach Steffen is back. He's been playing really well with Middlesbrough. I think that he's kept a clean sheet in the last few games, and they're a few points back, I think, from even second in the championship. So, it'd be huge for him to get them back up into the Premier League, but then also, maybe we see him kind of pushing Matt Turner for a starting spot. The defenders, I think that this is a decent list. I do kind of wonder, where Cameron Carter-Vickers is. You might ask where Chris Richards is too. But this is pretty solid backline. It's cool to see Brian Reynolds getting a shot there to come back and get some time with the national team. And then also Miles Robinson has been playing great for Atlanta United. He set up a goal in their last game with an awesome line-breaking pass against Charlotte. And he is the only Major League Soccer player on this list, which is pretty cool. It's also, it says a lot about where U.S. Soccer is right now, and that you can put together a strong roster and not include names like we've seen before, like Walker Zimmerman's not on this list. So definitely a good step for the national team here. You don't see Jordan Morris, you're not seeing Roldan either. So it's a chance for some other players to kind of come in and get set to push for spots in the next World Cup slugger, right? Especially take a look through in midfield, and you've got Jenny Cardoso. He's a player who I think that has a lot of potential, but he definitely needs to be able to show that he deserves to be with the national team. And then same with Alan Sonora. A chance for him also to step up a little bit and get some time with the senior squad. I think Tyler Adams is going to be missing, so with an injury, but so good chance there. Otherwise, there's on the forward line, you've got Taylor Booth, Daryl Dike, Pepe, Pulisic is there, Gio Reyna, Timway, and Alex Zanetas, and pretty huge get right there for the U.S. with Alex Zanetas coming in from Mexico. He chose to represent the U.S. rather than Mexico, even though there's no full-time head coach on the national team right now. And it's pretty exciting that he's coming in even with kind of those big question marks swirling around the team there. But at the end of the day, there's some questions about this window because there's no permanent manager, and you're kind of getting a chance to see these guys, but we're not getting an idea about what kind of tactics that they're going to be playing in the future or anything like that, and it just sort of feels a little bit like the team is spinning its wheels somewhat. And as far as kind of why we're kind of in that situation where it feels like the team is spinning its wheels again, we can take a look now at the Alston Bird report that was released with over the weekend, talking about the allegations of abuse by Gregg Berhalter, or the incident that happened in 1992 with Gregg Berhalter and his wife, and then kind of the fallout from that. And so what I kind of wanted to focus on, though, is that this kind of comes back to something that's been a bit of a theme with the U.S. Soccer, I think, over the years, which has been sort of this very insular and, kind of this insular sort of network that they have where, it's a lot of people who the reason that they have the positions that they have is because they know each other, and that there's sort of this kind of favoritism that gets played out here. And I think that this actually gets shown quite a bit in the way that Claudio Reyna interacted with a lot of the folks at US Soccer, so you kind of take a look at what the investigation reports as a pattern of periodic outreach by Mr. Reyna to US Soccer officials and staff going on for 6 years, and obviously this is inappropriate, the comments that he's making, and, he's trying to influence decisions by US Soccer officials and staff about his kids. And then, that ends up culminating in sort of him and his wife bringing up the incident of abuse with Gregg Berhalter and his wife from 1992, seemingly in order to not get Gregg extended as men's national team coach. So you see Reyna kind of talking to U.S. Soccer officials that they describe as inappropriate, bullying, and mean-spirited. And, kind of a very typical thing for him to do was send text messages, then send an email, and then follow up with a phone call. Then there were some examples, that Reyna contacted U.S. Soccer official to overturn a red card, or maybe to allow Gio just to not to sit out a game if the red card couldn't be rescinded. Reyna complaining about a female referee where in a game that Gio played in, saying basically, it's embarrassing. What are we trying to prove? A game like this deserves better attention. This is truly sad to see. I believe we should regroup internally and decide the path we want to take. After this, and his communication last week is neither inappropriate or acceptable. And, that he was making complaints about Gio's lack of playing time in the World Cup, the U17s, and it not being able to fly business class and other examples. And then that kind of culminated with all the information that he and his wife kind of put out there about Berhalter to Ernie Stewart. And kind of my reaction to this is that, I think that once this came to a head, U.S. Soccer did a good job of handling this. They got this investigation rolling. They resolved it in a short amount of time. But, this kind of goes back to, this history of toxic behavior within U.S. Soccer, right? Like the time when Jay Berhalter had a leadership position in U.S. Soccer, and there were employees talking about, harassing behavior and having a toxic work environment and things like that. This is going on at the same time that Claudio Reyna is making these calls and these comments, and something that, frankly, the new leadership with Sidney Parlow-Cone, Ernie Stewart, and Ryan McBride came in and said that there would be a stop to it, right? Obviously, Reyna is not a member of U.S. Soccer as far as an employee, but the fact that this behavior was allowed to continue and that it doesn't really seem like anyone tried to put a stop to it, I think says a lot about what was going on at U.S. Soccer, and it says a lot about sort of like, these people are all friends and they're looking out for each other, or maybe they're saying that's just the way that he is, as opposed to saying like, you need to change your behavior, you need to stop this harassment and these other sorts of statements like that. And it really kind of asks the question, like, what has U.S. Soccer really learned? Like, there's been several incidents of abusive behavior that the U.S. women have discussed, that NWSL has brought up, and it still seems like there's still this sort of atmosphere where it was allowed to continue. Obviously, U.S. Soccer can't really control what Claudio Reyna does, but, if he is making these kinds of comments and being disruptive this way, should he really be, allowed to participate in things like the Friends and Family program at the World Cup, where he has access to Stewart and McBride, and he's able to kind of make these comments and say these sorts of things. I think that this is a little bit of a failure there, and I think that something, whoever comes in as the next general manager, and whoever's in charge of the national team next time, they need to take a close look at this and really think about ways that they can resolve this kind of thing before it starts. Well, I think that covers all the topics for today. I wanted to say thanks for tuning in and checking out the video.